Hello, this is Serenity, and I'm here today to make a video about how do you connect to angels, your higher self, your true self, or source energy from God. So I want to talk about why we have difficulty connecting to these energies, and one of the main reasons that I see all too often, in order to connect with these higher frequency vibrational entities, we have to be in a relatively open space. And that's not always something that we have going on in our daily life. There's a lot of stresses, energies that inhibit this open state. But another main reason why it's difficult to connect to angels, entities of light beings, higher self, is that we live in the third dimension. And here we have a density of the self, of the flesh. So in this density, we are kind of stuck in this realm. Now, the fifth dimensional beings, or the light beings, they live in a fifth dimensional reality. They are allowed to come into this space if there's an opening. They're drawn to an opening. How can you open yourself up to connect into this energy of light, source energy, light beings? Focus on being calm, or calming your mind. And some ways that you can do this is to start a meditative practice. So it's a good idea to create some kind of sacred space or altar, or you could also go out in nature. That's helpful because there's a lot of less density in the air. You know, the EMFs are kind of inside of our homes, and we're kind of bombarded by the frequencies of density, electricity. Out in nature, you can really open your mind up, going on a hike, looking at a beautiful canyon or the mountains or at the beach. But I want to suggest that you create a sacred space in your home, some type of altar space that has spiritual figures on it, whatever you're drawn to, pictures of angels, statues of angels or Buddha, or anything that you feel helps you connect into this deeper place. Because this state is very subtle, the alpha state, the open state, and it's actually within our hearts. Well, the soul self, or the spiritual body, the aspect of ourselves that is already connected to these fifth dimensional beings or is evolving into a fifth dimensional state, is again already connected into this space. So if we can drop within into our hearts or our soul space, even the feeling of love, that is more closely related to this fifth dimensional energy than the third dimensional energy that we normally stay in our minds, very static, very shut down, very cerebral, very cut off from this source energy, which does emanate from our being. It's like a sound, it's like a vibration that comes from our heart space. So in order to connect into our higher self, or our angels or spirit guides, we try to come into this soul space. This is where the magic happens. So it's a good idea to have this sacred space that you create in your home, and do a daily or weekly practice of coming into some sort of meditative place in your sacred space, so that you can feel your depth. You can feel your inner voice, or the voices within you that are guiding you deep within. Because it does come from going within, a state of prayer or a meditative state. This is how you clear your mind. This is how you open your heart. And it's also a way in which to move emotions. I imagine that if you sat in front of a sacred space, dropped within and felt your heart, you might have emotions come up. And this is actually good. Release of emotions is releasing blocks, releasing stress, releasing stuck energy. How you get to this alpha state or this open state is by releasing what's stuck in there or bound in there. So this is what blocks communication. Anger, the fear, the frustration, hatred, judgments. All of this blocks the heart space and blocks the emotions from being moved, so that you can get into the love or the vibration of love that already exists within our heart space. This takes some trust and some practice. I've been meditating for the better part of 10 years, and I've grown up on a spiritual path, as my parents are spiritual seekers. And meditation was no stranger to me. I've done it practically all my life, and it's taken a long time for me to get to this place inside my heart space. Now, I could always see entities or see beings because I was born with extrasensory abilities to clairvoyance, clairsentient. I can see into other dimensions. I can hear people's thoughts. That's from being born into a certain type of soul destiny. I'm an indigo for sure. I have a destiny on this planet to help evolve the consciousness wherever possible. And that's why I'm making these videos, is to help you connect into fifth dimensional realms or the higher realms. And all it takes is daily practice, opening on a regular basis, and trust. And so once you feel like you can connect to some source energy or some higher dimension, once you've done this practice a few times, maybe a week, 2 weeks of regularly meditating and going within, it's good to tune in to a listening. There's, again, a sound or a note or a frequency that comes in from higher dimensions through the heart space, resonates into the being, and oftentimes you'll get information in your mind that'll come in, and you'll want to write that down. It'll be an answer to a question that you're pondering. It's often good to ask questions of your higher self or your angel guides. Ask them, how do I deal with this situation? How do I move this? How do I rectify what's going on in my life? I can't get any peace. I can't feel my heart. I can't feel love. These are some of the things that you can ask your higher self or spirit guides, and you will be given the answer if you can tune in and receive what you are feeling or resonating from your heart as responses. This vibration is very subtle. It does take a very calm mind and a very open heart, so practice makes perfect. Don't get discouraged if you can't hear or feel anything right away. A lot of emotions need to move for us to get into our alpha state or state of love or open state. And this meditative practice will actually allow you to move some of these emotions or feelings. I suggest that you put on some music. Sad song always often helps move some emotions. Letting yourself cry is very important, actually. Tears are gateways to our soul. Emotions are the key. They're the signpost to where to go, to open the heart. And so again, practice makes perfect. I am going to do a series on meditation, but I want to touch upon one thing before I move on. There are a lot of other entities out there. There are layers, dimensional realities that are between us and the fifth dimension, typically, or moreover the fourth dimension. That's the dream plane or the astral plane or the plane of emotions. And that's where part of us is actually caught. And so you will have to go through the fourth dimension to get through the fifth dimension. And that's the work that needs to be done, is moving from the third dimensional reality into the other aspects of ourself through the emotional body. The emotional body lives in the astral space or the emotional plane or the plane of dreams, which is the fourth dimension. That's where a lot of dark entities can be found. Oftentimes, if you try astral projection or do this meditative process, you will feel yourself astral projecting into another dimension, potentially the fourth dimension, and that's going to bring up a lot of possibilities for you to connect into other entities that may not be so welcomed. That's understandable. All you have to do is tell these entities to go away, that you don't want anything to do with them. You're not here to connect with them. You're here to connect directly to the light, to the love, and to your heart space, your higher self, your true self, for the good of God, for the good of yourself. And just tell them to go away. And you might have to do it a couple of times if there is a particular entity that plagues you or bothers you, or you see ghosts. I know I had to do this because I was afraid to go into the fifth dimension because I thought that it was the fourth dimension and that was all that there was. I was scared of the darkness that was there. So just keep going through that dimension into the fifth, because that's where the light is. That's where the love is. It's in our hearts, but it's also out there dimensionally. So we have to move from this dimension to that. And we are. We are all evolving towards love. And so I just want to encourage you to, again, to remember, practice makes perfect. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's taken me 5 solid years of spiritual work to really get to the place where I feel a connection to source energy, to my higher self. And I'm not saying that that's going to be like that for you. You may connect in right away. I had a lot to get through, a lot of darkness to work out, and I have done that. And so I just want to encourage you to keep going. It is blissful. There is an ecstasy in it, and through the dark nights of the soul is a joy and a love that is ever increasing, unending ecstasy. So thank you for watching.